happens to that egg, the human world might be affected.
On the honor of Adamus, we must persevere. We must fulfill our mission.
Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, you had to see this video coming. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've compared a lot of video games this year. It all really started with Oblivion versus Skyrim, but we've had many a face-off since then. But this one, the beef has history. We're talking about Pokemon versus Digimon. It's the early 2000s once more. Now, as I admitted in my Digimon Story Time Stranger Impressions video, I was that fringe Digimon fan. I knew Agumon. I always thought Digimon was cool, but I was the Pokemon guy until Emerald. I went, all right, this thing peaked. I'm gonna go move on. I played a bunch of Mega Man Battle Network. The rest was history. I kind of fell out of the monster catching genre. But it was of no disrespect to Digimon, because Digimon would gain my attention in my adulthood when I started to lament what Pokemon had become. You see, Pokemon's popularity continued on over and over and over again. It just seemed to be endless in how big it would become. And because of that, many of us had hopes for what Pokemon could become in the video game space. In particular, this really sparked off with Pokemon Sword and Shield. When that game arrived on Nintendo Switch, and it was not the Breath of the Wild moment that we had hoped for, it was this devastating moment for the Pokemon community of, this is a DS game, man. What are we doing here? This should be so much more. And that's not to disrespect people who enjoy these games, by the way, but I feel when you look at what happened with Legend of Zelda, when you see what's happening with Metroid, you look at Donkey Kong, you look at Mario, like Nintendo has given all of these core franchises so much love because they make them lots of money that Pokemon, which is the highest grossing IP on the planet, no doubt could earn itself a large budget to swing really hard and do something special. But why spend more when you could spend less and make even more? Am I right? And so that's what we see based on the visuals within a lot of Pokemon video games. Everything from the mainline series in Scarlet and Violet to even spin-offs that I really enjoyed like Legends Arceus, let's be real, looks flat out embarrassing. Even things like Legends ZA, putting it in a single city, just doesn't look good. And I'm one of those people where visuals isn't everything, but visuals can be bad to the point of being distracting. So after playing Digimon Story Time Stranger for a while, delivering some impressions and going, hey, I'm on board. I really like this. I love what they're doing here. You knew I had to go back and play the latest mainline entry in the Pokemon series and see what was good. Really compare and contrast these two, feel them out. And I know that it's been a couple of years since we got Scarlet and Violet, but ooh, I know it's easy to dunk on Pokemon nowadays, but y'all, the difference is kind of staggering. And I get that Pokemon's going to make more money than Digimon most days, but when you look at the Steam player count for Digimon Story Time Stranger, like, it's doing numbers, dude. Like, this game's looking pretty hot right now, and I think it's because some people are like me and migrating over and exploring other monster catching genres. So let's compare the two. Playing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet after playing a decent amount of Digimon Story Time Stranger. I'll tell you this right now, I think Digimon wins in literally every category I got lined up for y'all. It's not that competitive. And I hate to say that because I do want to love Pokemon. I have a lot of nostalgia for it. And I think Pokemon is responsible for the reason a lot of these monster catching games can be popular. But my God, dude, it's just, you got to do more, Nintendo, Pokemon Company. Give them budget, give them time. I don't know what they need, but give it to them. Because while I'm happy to see Digimon in this position, like, you should be the leader. You really should be. Anyways, if you're new here and you're into nostalgic, retrospective content, then you're in the right place. Consider subscribing. So I think we got to get one out of the way to talk about the deeper mechanics of the game. Let's talk visuals. I mean, first off, yes, on Switch 2, which is one of the main reasons I have to admit that I picked up my Switch 2, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet runs better. It has improved load times. Like, they definitely did some work to make it playable is the term that I would use. Visually, it runs in 4K now. It looks a bit sharper. Character models benefit from this a lot, but things like texture quality have not been improved at all. You can see it in the backdrop of almost every cutscene. Some texture map is completely blown up on an object. It looks terrible. They skimped out on this, which again is hilarious because, like, I get it's a free update, but you really, like, again, a Pokemon video game could not spare the time, the budget, the resources to just make what was a catastrophic Pokemon launch from a technical standpoint, right? Broken LODs were also fixed with this next-gen update, so by and large, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is looking and performing maybe the way it should have at launch, which still isn't saying much because this game is still horrendous looking. compared to something like Digimon, I am critical of how Digimon's dungeons look a little bit, but I do think as you get deeper into the game, the location variety shakes up a lot. And also I think the setting allows it to explore some really interesting locations. We are talking about a game that's both like post-apocalyptic and current day and time travel-y. It's really awesome. But the visuals, especially when you look at the character models, I mean, I get that Digimon Time Stranger is a 2025 video game, but I think they beat them out on that completely. But it's really down to the monster quality. I think that's where you can really size these two up a bit more. And I think Digimon wins there hand over fist. Unique animations after every victory in battle, unique voice lines for different moves in battle, unique animations for abilities in battle. And I feel like I'm just glazing the game for doing what should be expected of it. But like Digimon does everything you would hope Pokemon would be doing with its monsters. Like there's tons of personality in them. You can sit down and talk to them. Like you can interact with them on a deeper level. I think that stuff is wonderful, but it all feels brought to life in combat, which, I mean, you still see some of the move animations in Scarlet and Violet. Yeah, it's an improvement over Sword and Shield, where like tackle is just moving the character model forward in a quick manner. But again, we're not really saying much here because it's not hard to leap that much further than what they had set the standard for with themselves in the last entry in the mainline series. If there is anything that Pokemon dramatically needs to improve upon, it is absolutely the attack animations. It should not be this bad for Pokemon, and that's not trying to drag Digimon down. Digimon looks great, but like Pokemon, like you gotta step it up. And sticking with the visuals a bit more, to be fair, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is an open world video game, whereas Digimon is broken up into a lot of hubs. Some of these dungeons are wide spanning, interconnected, so it does have some bigger locales. But Digimon, for example, when you're exploring Shinjuku, like you're just going to different parts of Tokyo, and like they're all separated in these maps, where Pokemon Scarlet and Violet does try to do something interesting in keeping it continuous. And I do feel the open world format can be interesting for Pokemon moving forward, but you see that it came at a cost, not just in the obvious visual part, but I do think that Digimon has more vibrant, living towns where people are moving around and talking and interacting, whereas Pokemon, like everyone's kind of sterile and stiff, and again, some of these character models and the things that they're saying, just really weird. Not just weird looking, but like also you'll see duplicates like every 2 seconds. It completely does everything it possibly can on the visual front to tear you out of it. Okay, now that we've covered the visual stuff that I know is really the cream of the crop in the terms of the conversation for Pokemon versus literally anything, let's talk gameplay a bit more. The catching mechanic. Obviously, Pokemon is known for a style of catching mechanic. You find a monster you like randomly, you beat it up a little bit, status effects and whatnot, it's weakened, you have multiple ball types, you throw that ball at the enemy, depending on the ball type versus the weakness of the enemy, increases your chances of catching them, and boom, you've got a new pocket monster. I liked the mechanic when I was like 10 years old. I think it was fine, I think it was great. I do feel it needed to dramatically evolve. I got yelled at by the Pokemon community for saying that. I also felt extremely vindicated when Legends Arceus came around and I went, oh my God, they made catching Pokemon not just fun, but addicting. I will talk my smack about Arceus's visuals all day, but I love the gameplay loop in that game because it made what is admittedly an iconic, vital part of the Pokemon process that needs to be there in some way, shape, or form into a fun, much more streamlined version. Like if you sneak up on a Pokemon and you throw the ball and hit them from behind, guess what? You catch them first try. You don't have to go through this process of hitting them with poison, you know, that tug of war with their health bar and having your Pokemon get hit a bunch. Like it's just, to me, old and tedious. Like it was a great mechanic at first. It needed to evolve. That's what Arceus did. But even with what Arceus does, and I think it's great, and I look forward to Legends ZA strictly because of this mechanic, I have to say, Digimon Time Stranger, I really like how you get creatures in this game because it's perfect for turn-based RPGs, because a lot of these games can be grindy. But in this game, as you're fighting enemies, which you're going to want to do anyway, because it's not only just fun, but also as you fight them, you scan them. And as you scan them, you can just straight up register them into your party right then and there. And if you get them up to 200%, they get like max HP and like benefits to their stats. So it's a very addictive style of grind, or style of catching, I suppose, is the best way to define it. And it takes what I thought Arceus did, which was streamline a catching mechanic and makes it fun, and does it, except it considers combat a lot more heavily. And then there's not this process of like going back and forth to your box and whatever, just like everything's there available immediately. You can evolve everyone, and there's tons of evolution trees. Like there's just so much customization and pathing and options and I guess ease of use in the catching system within Digimon that I'm like, this smokes what I think Pokemon's doing. Again, Pokemon has the benefit of being the classic. So I imagine a lot of people who are going to be upset with me in this video are people who are going to be like, how could you hate on this, bro? It's like, it's a classic. And I get it. Like, I'm not saying it's awful, but I'm just saying evolution is required with these sorts of ideas. And I feel like Digimon right now has the lead in that category because Legends Arceus does something that I think streamlines the Pokemon style. And I think that's great in the terms of like the mainline series. It is that sort of annoying tug of war, and Digimon just gets it. Like, beat up your enemies. You're going to fight them anyway. You don't have to like worry about, can I catch them or not? Just beat them up, scan them, add them to your party, evolve them, merge them together, convert them into other Digimon. Like, it's awesome, dude. It's just such a addictive system, and it really lets you control your fate because you can see, like in Scarlet and Violet, another great change they made in that game was being able to actually see the Pokemon in the overworld. You can see the Digimon in the overworld, so you can kind of choose who and what you're engaging with. There's no real random chance and all that, so I like that both games share that. Like I mentioned, this wouldn't be super close, and yeah, dude, combat, like, you know, Pokemon has struggled with this, and again, this is a place where I think Legends Arceus did a great job with just introducing a couple of combat styles and keeping it free and in the overworld. These little changes do add a bit of quality of life to the game that made combat more enjoyable, more tactical even. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, though, is kind of back to basics, slow, back and forth combat. But when you look at the quality of life on just, again, the visual front that Digimon brings forward, its animations, its effects, its camera movement, even as you're snapping between turns and targeting and actions being taken, like, it's a dramatic improvement in that way. But also, it's just like little quality of life, like, hey, use an item in the same turn as attacking. And I say this as someone, by the way, who has never played Pokemon competitively, but what I would give to be able to say, heal my poison status and then go back with an attack. I get that probably would destroy the competitive nature of Pokemon. I'm a casual with it all, so pardon my ignorance on that. But I love that in Digimon, I can heal and then go after the enemy, because that also enables the game to become more difficult, more challenging, more interesting to play. But they even have little things that are real quality of life turn-based mechanics that we found in other big JRPGs like Turbo Mode, where you can just turn up the battle speed in this game. Like, that sort of stuff goes such a long way. And just, hey, you want to grind and catch a bunch of Digimon and scan a bunch of them? You can turn up the battle speed to ×5 and just zoom through a bunch of fights if you really want to accelerate your grind. Like, you can do that sort of stuff, and it's just for the battles. It's not for like exploring the overworld like series I enjoy, such as Trails, have done before. And again, I love that. I love how many quality of life mechanics are packed into this combat system, plus the weakness system and how it combines the Digimon type with the actual elemental weaknesses. Again, just makes it a lot more compelling and evolved. And they even, speaking of evolved, allow you to bond with your Digimon in interesting ways. You get to talk to them in the overworld, kind of guide their personality. You can go to the Digi Farm. You can assign them different roles to sort of train them, get closer to them. And I feel that sort of relationship forming is key in these monster catching games. Like, they're not just tools or used in combat, but like ways to just interact with them. I love that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think Digimon ultimately just nails the metagame. Like, they understand that they have the same fighting, catching, exploring that Pokemon does, but on these deeper, more fine-tuned levels is where they really hit a home run, in my opinion. And I do hope that the next mainline entry learns how to accelerate and evolve these mechanics. I understand that, you know, Pokemon's a series for kids, but look, go to any Pokemon Midnight launch, watch any Pokemon unboxings online, watch any product of Pokemon be handled. It's full of adults, dude. I imagine 70% of this audience is adults at this point. Like, they're the people who are also kind of ruining Pokemon. If you look at the card game on a side note, as someone who used to buy a lot of singles and grade them, I've seen a lot of the stuff I've graded go up dramatically in value to making the hobby borderline impossible to get into. So I don't buy into the whole idea that, like, well, it's a game for kids, and because it's a game for kids, we don't need to do all this stuff. It's like, that's a cheap excuse nowadays, given that the people who control the fate of this hobby are adults. Not like the people making them, but the people buying it, you know? Plenty of kids play Pokemon, no doubt about it, but like, adults control the fate of this series as far as I'm concerned. I think the same could be said for Digimon. Digimon is definitely appealing to a younger demographic. Like, all these monster catching games really have it. You don't see like blood and guts and gore and deep, mature stories always being told here. Like, they're usually inferred mature themes. You know, I think of like the graveyards in Pokemon, or even some of the things that Time Stranger tackles. Like, it's a post-apocalyptic game and you see those events play out. Like, it definitely takes itself seriously. But is it suddenly not kid-friendly? I would not go anywhere close to that far, but what do I know? I'm a 30-year-old without a kid. Screw them kids. Last thing I just want to touch on is story. This is not really comparing, contrasting the narratives themselves, but rather the story style, like the storytelling, the narrative approach. What I mean by this is like both games have a silent protagonist, right? And you still in both games have to click through text boxes to advance the cutscenes themselves. Like, certain animations won't automatically play unless you press X and go to the next line, and then something will happen. In fairness, Digimon does have an auto feature that you can turn on that does move cutscenes forward. So there's a little bit of the sort of lay your controller down, rest, and watch things play out, but you can still see the scene moving in like almost keyframes. But I think the biggest standout to me was Digimon isn't deathly afraid of voice acting. I really don't get this one with Pokemon. You know, I get it's easy to dunk on them for a lot of things that maybe people consider key to the series identity. I do get that. But I really don't understand why Pokemon is so hesitant to give characters voices, especially because everyone wins. It can elevate character writing in some ways. Like, I think good writing handshakes well with good acting, but sometimes good acting can just elevate the script itself. It allows more character personalities to be developed. Obviously, at this point in time, if we heard a voice in a Pokemon game that wasn't an actual cry from a Pokemon, it would definitely create a lot of hype. Like, I just don't get why they don't do this. I get they're easier to make, it's cheaper to make, but this goes back to square one of like, how is Digimon doing this? And I know Digimon's successful and popular, but like, how is Digimon and other games doing this? How are indie games getting voice acting, but yet Pokemon cannot? Come on now. But again, it adds so much. Like, I described it in my review impressions video that Digimon Time Stranger has an atmosphere to it. The music creates a lot of it, but the character voice acting in some instances, not all, is pretty good. Again, I think of the Occult Tokyo host. She's definitely a little eccentric, a little out there, but otherwise, like, I think most of the performances are pretty good and just add personality to the written lines. That's what voice acting is supposed to do. So Pokemon not doing that, a little crazy, and I'm not getting my hopes up that they're going to really change their ways anytime soon, since, again, if it's not broken, don't fix it. They're making a lot of money making very cheap video games. Like, if you can make these games for dirt cheap and sell like 30+ million copies, even when Scarlet and Violet's broken, I guess, you know, Nintendo probably just shrugs their shoulders and go like, well, why would we change anything? Pride would be my suggestion, but who knows? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it was fun sizing these two up. Definitely not much of a competition this time, but I felt as we approach Legends ZA, this sort of stuff had to be said. And maybe it'll be said again. Who knows how we feel about Legends ZA. But nonetheless, I look forward to your thoughts down below on Pokemon and on Digimon Fire Away. Other than that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.